You are receiving more signs and more results from your specific person than you think you are. And I actually made a video really recently on the same idea, but I really wanted to reiterate it. And if you've seen it, I talked about the idea of what does it take for you to feel loved? And I asked you to fill in the blank of that question. So I feel loved when blank. And the answer to that question, or the fill in the blank of that statement, can be what is causing you to have massive, awesome, and amazing results happening in your external reality. But because we're not aligning mentally with that positive outcome, we're completely blind to them. And I cannot tell you how many times I'll approach or go into a coaching session where someone is telling me nothing's happening, and we make a very small adjustment in this way, and they begin to see and showcase or reveal all of these amazing results happening all around them. And it's usually then in the next coaching call that they're like, oh my gosh, Kyle, all this happened, blah, 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 all this stuff is occurring. And I know that they were already having all these amazing results, but they weren't aligning with that reality to then again see it. But right now, if you for a moment were thinking about that question, what does it feel, or what does it take for me to feel loved, or what does it take for me to feel committed to? You're going to say or state a whole host of things, and it may actually take some time to really think about that answer. But I wanted to give you two different examples of people who are going to have a statement or feeling one way, an assumption of love, in a way that's very empowering, and another one that's very disempowering. And then I want you to see if you have characteristics or which one you align with more. So let's say for one person, we have the feeling that I must hang out with my specific person every single week to feel loved. And let's say every week goes by and them and their specific person, they're aligning with the state very well, and they're hanging out, and again, every Friday they meet up with them for dinner. Right? You'd say, this is awesome, everything's going perfectly, this is a great manifestation, they're on the perfect bridge of events. So let's say the first week they meet up, the second week they meet up, the third week they meet up, and on the fourth week, their specific person can't make it or doesn't respond to them at all on the Friday that they're supposed to be hanging out. How is this person going to feel, and how would you react in that same situation? They would be very disappointed, upset, concerned, have a lot of anxiety, and a lot of worry, right? But really, why should they be feeling that way? They hung out with their specific person every other Friday, but the feeling internally is, and the rule that they've given themselves and their assumption is, I can't feel loved unless I hang out with my specific person every single day of the week. Or not every day of the week, every Friday of every week. But in this case, they're really attaching the feeling of being loved to something outside of them. And this is actually called a disempowering belief. So a disempowering belief is something that you, again, are attaching in your external reality to a way that you're going to feel, but it's a way that you can't control how you get into that state. And there are a lot of ways to make you feel bad. Because if this person needs to hang out with their specific person every Friday to get into the state of feeling as if they already have it, that is totally against the law of assumption, right? Because we need to assume it first and then we see the outcome. So the more this person remains in the state, the more they're going to see their reality actually begin to reflect that feeling of worry, anxiety, and anxiousness. But on the other side of the coin, let's take another person who has the belief or assumption or affirms that every time they meet up with their specific person or every time they hang out, they feel absolutely overwhelmingly loved. So again, on this other hand, this person could the first week not hang out with their specific person, the second week not hang out, the third week not hang out, and then the fourth week they meet up with their specific person on Friday and they are overwhelmingly abundant. They feel so loved and so committed to. Now, as you can tell, that's going to be the empowering belief. But you tell me which one, again, we have the first feeling of anxiety and worry and the other feeling or assumption of being loved. Which one do you think is more in the end state? Even though the one that we kind of already talked about had a disempowering belief, hung out with their specific person way more often because they're feeling devastated by that fourth week. That's the overwhelming feeling that they have. And they're going to be talking, thinking, assuming, and believing that their specific person doesn't want to meet up with them because they had that belief, I must hang out with my specific person every single week to feel loved and feel abundant. But on the other hand, we have the person who, again, only hung out with their specific person once, but is matching that end state so much more than anyone else. And as I mentioned with that first person, the second person, because they feel so loved, so abundant, and so positive, they're going to see a positive trend line where, because again, your assumptions are hardening into fact in your external reality, not your thoughts or feelings. Because they are assuming they feel loved whenever that happens and they're really embodying that state, they're going to see that they meet up with their specific person more and more and more, to maybe even the point where they're meeting up with them every single day. But it all comes from that, again, the original assumption that they feel loved every time that they hang out with their specific person. But you could actually get way better with an empowering belief. But to reiterate, the other person who is feeling very down, anxiety, and worry, and assuming their specific person doesn't like them because they didn't meet on that one day, is going to see a downward trend where they begin to see the results, or they're basically going to see their external reality match that subconscious belief more and more, where the other person with the empowering belief sees, again, their reality begin to match that subconscious belief. So as I begin to describe these, which one would you say you fit into more? And maybe right now you're feeling like, oh yes, that disempowering belief I actually have within me, or you're like, oh my gosh, I'm doing great because I really contain that empowering belief, or maybe you're a little bit of both, or can be both from time to time. And every single option is okay. But remember, if we ever find any disempowering beliefs within us that we know don't help us feel into that end state, we should look at them and attempt to change them to something a little more empowering. Because a disempowering belief is going to be more conservative manifestation. So a disempowering belief, or that fear or worry that if you don't hang out with your specific person every Friday, everything's going horrible, that's going to again be conservative, because it's going to be your ego attempting to keep you in that same state, right? Because it's, as you would see, it's everything's going great, you're meeting up with your specific person every Friday, but we're finding a reason to not expand and move into that assumption fully. But then on the other hand, we have that empowering belief is much more of a creative manifestation, because we are moving out of the old story and moving into the new, because we are giving ourselves a lot of ways and a lot more time to feel into that end state, to feel abundant, to feel loved, and feel committed to. But with all of this, as we begin to pull our attention and energy and assumptions that are connected to our external reality into our internal state, I want to basically reiterate this Neville Goddard quote. And the quote is, "Nothing comes from without, all comes from within." So do not connect the feeling of the wish fulfilled to anything outside of you, right? Because as we focus, our 3D is just a reflection of what's happening internally. And as we begin to connect our emotions and assumptions to it, we will see that all we're going to do is create a loop where we don't feel positive internally. We see that less than positive result outside of us, and then we look at that and go, see, that's why I didn't believe my SP was going to come to me, and then it reiterates that belief, and we keep in that cycle. But we need to break that. We need to, regardless of what is happening around us, believe in the assumption that we already have what we want no matter what. And take some time to really find those disempowering beliefs that might be contained within you and begin to flip those. Find ways to turn them into something more empowering. And again, an empowering belief is something that is not controlled by anything outside of you and has a lot of ways to make you feel good, which in this case would make you feel loved and committed to. So to reiterate that previous belief, one, the disempowering belief was, I have to hang out with my specific person every week in order to feel loved, and the other person had, anytime I hang out with my specific person or see them, I feel loved and committed to. And it's very self-explanatory how you can see one has a lot of options for helping you feel into that end state, and the other not so much. There's a lot of ways that one can go wrong. But at the end of the day, it's all about our assumptions and how we believe as if we already have what we desire. So take some time and really try to find any disempowering beliefs. And then if you find empowering beliefs, really congratulate and reiterate those. But let me know if you have any questions in the comments section below. And then remember, you can also reach out to me on my website at kyleaugustcoaching.com. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up on this video, and then also don't forget to subscribe. But thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in the next video.